Your taste buds are in for a treat today. I am making a delicious sweet and savory mango chutney that will definitely become a staple in your pantry year after year. Now I'm ready to get started. Now this chutney is made up of an array of different sweet and savory foods, spices, vinegar, sugar. It's just a delicious combination of ingredients that makes up this beautiful recipe. Now I do have one little secret to share with you. I didn't have a great sale on mangoes, and I hate peeling and cutting and dicing mangoes. It just takes me forever. And since this recipe called for 11 cups of mangoes, I kind of cheated a little bit and went to the store and bought a bag of frozen mangoes. It's going to work out the same, and it's going to save me a little bit in the prep time and a lot in the frustration. And if you do like me and decide to go with frozen mangoes, just make sure to measure them once they've thawed out. So now all that's left is we're going to prepare the rest of the ingredients for our chutney. We need to peel and chop up our onions, our garlic, and grate our ginger. Now that everything is prepped, let's move it all over to the stovetop. Now to your saucepan, you're going to add your sugar and your vinegar, and you're going to bring that to a boil and let it boil for 5 minutes just to dissolve everything. My sugar looks a little bit darker. It says white sugar. I'm using an organic sugar, and that's why it has a little bit more of a yellow tinge. You use whatever sugar you have on hand. It's all fine. Once you've let your sugar and vinegar boil for 5 minutes, all you need to do now is just add the rest of your ingredients inside of your pot. We need to let this simmer for around 25 minutes or until it thickens. I am a little doubtful that it's going to be thick enough in 25 minutes, especially since my mangoes are frozen, but we'll keep an eye on it and check until it gets to the consistency that we'd like it to be. So let's add those ingredients in our pot. To the saucepan, we're adding our onions, our golden raisins, chili powder, pickling salt, because if I hadn't mentioned it yet, we are going to be canning this, the garlic, the ginger, and then the main star ingredient, our delicious, beautiful mangoes. Be careful not to splash yourself. And that's it. We give this a good stir and let it simmer down for a while. The chutney is coming along great. It smells amazing. I gave it a taste, and I've decided that I'm going to tweak it just a little bit. Now I know what you're thinking. Theresa, you always say you have to follow a scientifically approved recipe. And yes, that is absolutely true. One thing that you can sometimes adjust in your recipes are spices, as long as they're spices that are safe for canning. So you can't use like spices that you don't know what's in it. Sometimes there's flour, sometimes there's things that are in it that can make it clump. However, I was kind of looking at 2 different scientifically approved recipes, and there is one of those recipes that does have some different spices in it, like cinnamon and cloves and nutmeg. So I'm going to be adding those spices in just to add a little extra oomph to this chutney. It is already very good, but I want to just tweak it a little bit. In the description below the video, you will find all the ingredients with the measurements that I use to make this delicious chutney. So the chutney is done. It is perfectly thickened. Those 3 spices that I added just brought that to the next level. Those 3 spices were actually cinnamon, cloves, and allspice, not nutmeg. But hey, if you want to add nutmeg, have fun. Go ahead and add some in. Two things I want to add. I did take a vegetable masher or a potato masher to break up some of the mango chunks so it wouldn't be quite so big. So I did do that. And as well, you want to make sure to stir this really often, especially when it starts to thicken. It'll have a tendency to want to stick at the bottom of the pot. So make sure you keep a close eye on it, especially when it starts reducing. You would not want to go to all that work and then end up burning your chutney at the bottom of your pot. So just two little words of caution. So now I'm going to preserve this so that I'll always have it on hand, especially if I want to make my delicious recipe of mango chicken. You may want to look out for that video because that might be coming up soon as well. So my canner is on the stove warming up with my jars inside, and now it's time to get these inside of the jars. I will be steam canning this, my favorite method of preservation as opposed to water bath canning. It's really easy and fast and efficient, and I love it. This is a water bath canned recipe, so it'll be quick. It just takes 10 minutes to process. So let's get these in the jar. You want to pour your chutney into the jars, leaving 1/2 inch headspace. Even if this is pretty liquid, you still want to always debubble just to make sure there is no air bubbles caught inside your jars. Always wash off the rims of your jars to make sure that your caps can seal properly. Center your caps on top of your jars. And then just put your rings on fingertip tight. You don't want to over tighten them. And then transfer your jars over to your canner. All the jars are in the canner. All that's left to do is to turn the temperature up, bring this to a boil. We need to get this into the proper section or color or however you want to call it for the altitude that I'm living in. It's very simple. When you look at this part, the different colors, I have to be in the dark green section for my altitude. It's as simple as that. Once the needle gets there, I start timing. This takes 10 minutes to process. Once that 10 minutes is up, I leave them inside the pot with the cover on for another 5 minutes, and then it's done. This heats up and boils and gets done so fast, you wouldn't even believe it. Now that the time is up, it's time to remove the jars from the canner. Remember that you always want to leave them sitting in the same place for 24 hours. Don't move them around, don't jostle them around, just let them set for 24 hours. I ended up with 10 jars. I was quite happy. I was expecting somewhere more around 8 or 9, so 10 is just bonus. So remember, always mark down on your jars what you have in it and the date that you processed it. It gets confusing fairly quick when you start to have a lot of things in your pantry. You kind of forget what you have there. After the 24 hours are up, be sure to remove your rings. Never store them with the rings on top. It could create a false seal and lead to an unsafe product. I hope you like this video. I hope you like my content. If you do, don't be shy. Subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and be sure to check back again soon to see what other content I will have coming out.